Let's see if you can figure out what movie it is we're talking about this week. Number one of the protagonists, heavy set. 2, high school. 3, adventure story. You know, just getting into some shenanigans or whatnot in and around school. 4, like somebody, they don't like them. Somebody likes them, but they don't like them. 5, super smart and nerdy. Now you might have said, clearly, sir, this is the Robert Cheek autobiographical story. And, I mean, you'd be pretty close, honestly. But no, this week we are going to be talking about Booksmart. So I don't know if you pay attention to the other videos that I have on my channel. If not, you know, maybe check them out. Did some video journals. I did, it's a video about me shaving for No Shave November, which, by the way, I still haven't trimmed off. That's probably going to come off tonight when I get done here. But nonetheless, if you have seen the videos, if you do follow me on social media, at Robert N. Cheek, you might have known that I did a bit of traveling recently. From LA back to the East Coast to visit with family for Thanksgiving, and then back to LA. This, of course, required a fair bit of airplane travel. And with airplane travel comes some perks, peanuts, cookies, some soda, maybe a drink or two. Not a meal, because none of my flights were long enough to actually serve a meal, but also the entertainment. And with 2 3-hour flights in each direction, because I had a layover, which made a 5-hour transcontinental flight 6 hours, 2 3-hour halves. That meant that I had a great opportunity to check out a lot of movies while I would fly. So over the next few weeks, not only are you going to be able to hear about a few of my favorite movies from the past year that are already out of theaters but available on streaming, but you're also going to be able to hear about some of the favorite movies I saw on planes during the trip. And I'll caveat all of those videos in the first line down below in the description. So not only are these throwbacks to the year 2019, not only are they some of my favorite movies I didn't get to see earlier in the year, but they're movies that I saw on a plane. Now, you're not going to have to take a flight in order to see them. Most of them are available on streaming services right now, including Booksmart, our movie of the week. So let's get the pleasantries out of the way, shall we? Booksmart was written by Emily Halpern and Sarah Haskins, Susanna Fogel, and Katie Silberman. And you would have to be living under a rock to not know that it was directed by Olivia Wilde in what I believe is her directing debut, if not her debut, her first kind of big screen debut. Booksmart is starring Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein as our 2 main protagonists, Jessica Williams as their favorite teacher, Jason Sudeikis as the principal. We'll talk a little bit more about him later. Lisa Kudrow and Will Forte as some of the most supportive parents I have ever seen ever, and a bunch of really fun, really talented young actors, including Skylar Gisondo, who I discovered recently on The Righteous Gemstones. And he did an amazing job there, and he did an amazing job in Booksmart. So I'm not really sure how I didn't catch this movie while it was in theaters. I distinctly remember discussing on multiple occasions going to see it. Now, it was billed as Superbad for the next generation, which I was a little worried about. The Ghostbusters remake had been kind of billed as Ghostbusters for the next generation. And I don't want the term the next generation to kind of start to mean we're replacing the cast with women. Because the next generation isn't just women. Obviously, it's men as well. Women really should have had roles in the first generation of movies as well. Yes, let's correct it. And let's get great movies for them. We could make a Superbad with boys now, and we can make a different thing with girls now, and we can make a Brotherhood of the Traveling Pants now, as well as a Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. It doesn't just have to be a female cast for the next generation. That's really my point. But I will say that the major difference between this and Superbad is the complete, okay, maybe not complete, but a much lower number of just gross out kind of jokes. It was way more about the complexity and the emotion that happens in high school. And I don't know if it's because when Superbad came out, the men who were coming of age, like me, were still super immature. They were the ones who were making movies and the ones who were going to movies. And we really wanted to see gross things. And the current generation has certainly matured a lot. They were forced to mature a lot faster than we were. And their movies, their humor is a little more mature. Now, there were still some fantastic moments, some off-putting moments, some awkward moments, but in the end, I think that it was the better version of Superbad. The one that didn't have to rely on period jokes for a laugh. The one that didn't have to rely on drinking soap for a laugh. And the one that didn't have to focus on getting beer for a party. Sometimes it's just enough if you show up. And it's not really about what you bring. But Booksmart is about, Booksmart is the story of Amy and Molly, two high school seniors who are about to leave school and rush off into the brave new world. They are literally about to graduate. It's the day before graduation. And I could have let these girls know a thing or two about having a party right before graduation, especially when the police might be involved. But that's a story for another time. In any event, they've spent their entire high school studying and working hard so that they can get into a really good school. I believe that Molly is going to Yale and Amy is going to Stanford, maybe? I can't really remember. The more important thing is that Amy is going to do a summer abroad in Africa. And they've been so focused on work and excelling that they haven't really had any fun. They get fake IDs to get into the library. They spend their Friday nights studying instead of drinking. And they come to the harsh realization on the last day of school that while they worked their asses off to get into those good schools, some of the kids had a really good time and still got into those schools. Now I can hear you guys already. That's not a spoiler. That is literally the marketing campaign for this movie. But I do want to take a couple minutes to get into some spoilers. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers on a movie that came out, early summer, well, now is the time to skip down to that time down below because the spoilers are about to start right now. So generally speaking, I think I was laughing through most of this movie, which is obviously a goal. I continue to make reference to hair masks, which apparently is a real thing in real life, and I think the writers took it from real life. But I just saw it on a BuzzFeed article, and I wanted to scream that it was a real thing. That scene was one of the funniest things I have ever seen. Just the relationship between the pizza delivery guy and them and what's going on between them. And he's cool, but maybe he's not so cool after all. And I mean, talk about not seeing things coming. Did not see that he was actually a serial killer, which I thought was a nice note that they threw in at the end. Miss Fine, their favorite teacher, a little on the nose, especially if she's going to come back later and actually hook up with a student. But I did really like the exchange with her after she gave them a ride, and she was just like, it'd be crazy if I came in, right? Like, everybody would just go crazy. Like, I'm not going to, but it would be crazy, right? Because I just imagine hearing that conversation between some of the millennials who work for me, where it's like, I know you want to do it. Just do it. Just do it. You're going to end up doing it anyway, so just do it. And I see myself so much in Jason Sudeikis. He's like a real adult, and he's got a real job, but he's got this little side gig that he's working on, which is exactly what I was doing for like the last year I was in Maryland. And then he screws up and ends up getting some of his kids in the vehicle with him in his like love mobile or whatever the theme was inside that thing. The awkward, palpable awkwardness, not only having them in the car, then them listening to porn video and him pulling it out and then being so more like the one downfall of watching this on a plane was, you have to kind of mute your reactions. And I thought for sure that the report was that they had pulled out the lesbian sex scene. Now, there was a sex scene later on with Amy and another girl. Well, there was the kind of sex scene. And I don't know if that had been modified, and maybe that's what they were talking about. But I thought the stories I read were referencing the pornography. But that was not cut out at all. Well, full on, heard it all. They talked about it, you heard it, great. Again, one of the things that I think that they could have missed on, Amy's hookup with the girl in the bathroom where, it could have gone smoothly and everything's amazing and look how good I am, but just because you're the same gender does not mean you know anything about what you're doing. And if you remember being that age, and if you were sexually active, for some of us it was a little earlier, for some of us it was a little later, but generally speaking, like around that age, it's like more exploratory than it is mastering. It's just, let me try to figure out anything to do so I don't feel and look dumb. Instead of it being nice and smooth like some teen movie, it was super awkward. And not only was it awkward for her being one of her first experiences, but this is the first time she's actually opened up to the fact that she would be with a woman. I just think it was firing on all cylinders, not only in that scene, but in the entire thing. And Will Forte and Lisa Kudrow as the most supportive parents in the world. Just the way that Molly messes with them about those two being together, and the how they are still so supportive. Like, they're super Christian, which again, I can relate, but they are so supportive of the lifestyle, which I couldn't relate to if I would have had to. Again, when you put really great actors in a really funny / awkward position and just let them have it, that is what you get. You get this amazing thing. And Olivia Wilde, masterful job. Her first time out of the gate, or like her first time on the big screen, and she did so well. I can imagine that it must have been super awkward in some of those scenes, especially, again, the shower scene with the girl and Amy, or the parent scenes where they're out, but they're being almost too supportive, and it makes it really weird. And Olivia is not, as far as I am, away from that age, but she's certainly closer to me than she is to Amy, the character. I just always feel like I would have no concept of what to do in any of those situations. Like, having to deal with any of that modern stuff, or any of the stuff I actually did deal with now, I don't know how I got through it, and I don't know that I could get through it again. And they just did a really great job of showing the awkwardness and the amazingness of all of those situations. So that's enough for spoilers. If anybody did duck out, let's go ahead and invite them back in to the rest of the show right now. So Booksmart is one of those movies that you really hope delivers. You really hope that it is what it seems to be. Now, I said they build it as Superbad for the next generation, which, again, I took with a grain of salt. But what I really was looking for was a coming-of-age story of two people who have to mature a lot very quickly because they think that they missed out on something, and now they want to experience all of it. And then they find out that maybe they didn't miss out on it after all, or maybe they just had a different experience than everyone else, but that's not a bad thing. And they have their whole lives in front of them to make up for it. I may have had a lot more fun in high school than some of my friends, but some of them are out there now having a really fun time. And I'm here in the dark, or relative dark, talking to a camera, tied to a computer for the internet. So which one of us is really better off, I guess? Me, of course, dummy. I get to hang out with all of you twice a week, and even more with some of my other stuff that we're doing. Yes, I'm the winner in that. I am, clearly. Thank you. But I was also a winner because on a very long trip, I found a really funny movie that could make a little bit of that travel a little more bearable. Even if I did have to muffle my reactions down and not fully react, not fully laugh the way that I would have wanted to, I still got to see something really great. A directorial debut, not the debut of any of the actresses. I think that they have both been in something before. I think I remember seeing them in something before. Just putting them together is magic, and I really hope that they do more together in the future. Again, not to make a comparison with Superbad, but I really hope that this crew can find a way to get back together for something else that doesn't have to be connected at all. It doesn't have to be Booksmart 2, College Boogaloo. It can just be this great crew, these two girls, the director, maybe the writers, somebody back together again on another adventure. And I promise them that if they do that, I will go out and see it in the theater instead of waiting to see it on a flight to Dallas. And of course, if I'm willing to go see part 2, or, anything that they do together, I'm going to tell you, go out and see Booksmart. Now, don't go to the theater, because you won't be able to see it anywhere in the theater by now, but it's going to be on streaming. We have Christmas coming up. Maybe you're going on a trip somewhere. I was on American Airlines for that flight, but I believe I saw it on Delta as well. So I know you have at least 2 of your major airlines covered. I would assume Alaska has it as well, and Southwest. So go see it. Even if you're just stuck on a plane for 2 hours, make it a good trip. Start your trip out right by wherever you're heading, watching Booksmart on the way to your destination. You're not going to regret it. And if you find it on streaming, then take an afternoon during your time off and watch it and be able to maybe experience it better than I could by reacting fully and giving it the laughter and the love that it really does deserve. Well, there you have it. Yet another episode of the Everyman Movie Reviews in the books. At the top here, I want to thank my patrons. I would not be able to do this without you guys. I just went over to B&H and I got some brand new equipment, and that is all thanks to the support that I get from you. So thank you guys so very much. I can't say it enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And hey, do you want to be one of my patrons? Do you want to support all of the new projects that I have going on? It is super easy. Go on over to patreon.com. That's patreon.com /Robert N. Cheek. You can donate at any level, even even as little as $1 a month. They get you access, and you'll be able to catch up to everything that I am working on. They get early access to all the videos. They get access to the books. They get thank yous in the books, thank yous in the videos. Everything that I produce, I make sure and get it to them early, and I make sure to thank them during the process. So go on over to patreon.com, patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek, and become one of my supporters. Let me know that you have a vested interest in the things that I'm working on. And of course, you can find me for free on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. That's going to be on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, Snapchat, over on TikTok, where I got some new videos coming. My new favorite thing is to make memes with my nephew. You are not going to want to miss that. So at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. And of course, make sure you're checking out robertncheek.com. That's where you're always going to find the latest updates to what's going on, what projects I'm working on, and what I have cooking that maybe nobody else knows about. You can sign up for the email list there, and of course, directions to Patreon, directions to Oh the Anthem, directions to everything that I have going on. That'll all be located right there. Finally, you're probably watching this video on YouTube at youtube.com/Rob Cheek, but don't forget it's also available in podcast form over at anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews. Now, at that link, you'll be able to find any of your sources of podcasts, where it's on Apple or Google or Pocket Cast or Dogcatcher, Stitcher, everywhere. Just go to anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews and you'll be able to find your link so you can have it on your podcatcher of choice. And of course, the shows are very similar, but there are a few very key differences. So if you do want to check out the podcast, make sure you go to anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews. You can throw another slash in front, put message. It'll let you leave a voicemail for me, and with your permission, I'll actually use those on the show. You'll also hear some promos that they don't hear here on YouTube, but people on YouTube, you guys will get some stuff that they don't get on Anchor. So maybe check out both, huh? How about that? But however you consume your content, I've got it for you. Podcast, video, you'll be able to find it. So thank you guys once again for joining me. Look for the next episode coming very soon. New episodes every Thursday, on the dot, no matter what. And another episode sometime in the week in between. Of course, I'm also working on the next episode of Rob Explains Everything. I'm thinking the Mandela Effect. So if you don't know what that is, make sure you go over to YouTube and subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when I update with my latest episode. A lot of stuff going on for me, a lot of stuff going on for you. So I appreciate you taking the time to check out this episode of the Everyman Movie Reviews. So until next time, thank you guys for joining me, and have a great week, everybody.